Hello, listeners. Before we get into today's episode, just a quick word. If you like audiobooks and you are not on Audible, there's something wrong with you. Make sure you head to audibletrial.com/FitProPodcast. audibletrial.com/FitProPodcast. You get a free audiobook and a 30-day basically trial to this amazing library of audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks when I do everything. When I train, when I'm walking the dog, when I'm in the car. I listen to it all the time. I've actually been known to listen to it while I'm sleeping. But there's so much knowledge out there, guys. There is so much information that you can absorb. I find listening to things is the easiest way for me to absorb that information. Now, the audiobook I'm listening to at the moment is The Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk. And if you don't know who Gary is, make sure you go check him out. And listen to this. This is one of his first books. I've listened to this a few times now, and it doesn't hurt going over and over again. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, whatever suits you, and you get the best experience out of it. So make sure you head to audibletrial.com/FitProPodcast. That is audibletrial.com/FitProPodcast. With that being said, let's get into today's episode with Steve Hall. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Fit Pro Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Fez, and today we have Steve Hall from London on. He's an online trainer, he's a bodybuilder, he likes to train other bodybuilders, he's the founder of Revive Stronger, he also likes coffee and pizza. He told me to put that in there. Steve, take a moment, let the listeners know who you are personally, and we will get right into it.
So yeah, I mean, that literally sums up my life in a nutshell. Kind of coffee and pizza probably is actually at the forefront. And then bodybuilding, powerlifting as well, work with bodybuilders and powerlifters, and a lot of people who just like kind of looking good and getting strong. And for myself, yeah, I'm actually in kind of, I'm going to compete at the end of this year in bodybuilding for my second time. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm an online coach, so all of I'm sure your listeners, being listeners to a podcast, they're very aware of kind of the online personal training space and how that kind of setup works. Or if they're not, then we might end up talking about it. But yeah, I do a lot of programming for bodybuilders, powerlifters, and yeah, the people who want to get into those sort of spaces, or just like the kind of squat, bench, deadlift. They like having control of their nutrition and really progressing their physiques in the best way possible. And I guess, in addition to being an online personal trainer and a bodybuilder myself, I do a lot of content creation myself. So we were talking beforehand about how I've kind of got a podcast that I've been running for, I'm not actually sure, but I think it might be coming to almost a year. I think it's just under a year. Really enjoy the podcast. I think they're a fantastic kind of tool. And then I have a blog as well, revivestronger.com, which I provide weekly blog content over on there as well. And just all over social media. That's kind of content creation and online personal training is what I do.
Perfect. Now, Steve, I'm a big fan of superheroes, so naturally I like to know the origin story of people. So where does Revive Stronger come from? What place does that brand come from?
Cool, yeah. I mean, for me, it's a really weird how my life kind of came to what it is now. When I was younger, I've always been into sports. I've always been like reasonably good. I played football at a reasonable level. I was a good runner, but for some reason, whatever it was, I decided not to do like PE at school, and I chose, I think it was like history or art. And when I went to kind of do my A levels, which in the UK is kind of just before uni, I didn't do any of these kind of sporting activity like PE. And then when I went to university, I did geography with business. So it was kind of like nothing you wouldn't have assumed I'd go into personal training after coming out of university. You'd think I'd go into business or something along those lines. But it'd always been kind of on the side. It's something I'd always been very passionate about. So after finishing university, and actually during my time in university, I was very much kind of still doing lots of going to the gym, running. I did rowing club. I also did football. So that was all there. And actually if I kind of scale back, during my time in university, I think it was in my second year, I had a incident in which basically I used to do this 10-kilometer run pretty much every week. And I used to love it. And I had my kind of Garmin watch on, my running watch, and it would tell me how I was tracking to previous best times. And there was this one time I was on for an all-time new personal best. I came to some traffic lights, which I think they have in Australia as well. Traffic lights, they're pretty worldwide.
Universal.
Yeah. And it was flashing amber. So all I can remember is it flashing amber. And I legged it without looking, first of all, and I got hit by a van. So that head injury led me to being in hospital for coming up to a month. And it led to a lot of problems. Initially, it was just some scarring on my elbow, and I had a fractured skull, which those really weren't bad. It was the bruising to my pituitary in my brain, and also my hypothalamus looked to be slightly damaged. And these really caused issues with my hormones. And without getting too technical, I could kind of have a seizure at any point that I was told, and I had to be in hospital until my bloods were at a point at which I was healthy to be released, without them being concerned. But when I was released, I was on medication for a good year afterwards. I was on water restriction because it was related to my electrolytes. And I felt pretty beat up for an entire year after the accident. Just my body just didn't function properly. If anyone's ever kind of, when you're cramping or when you have poor electrolyte control, you have a bit of brain fog, it's very similar to like being in a perpetual diet. You just feel awful. So it was a real struggle in that time. My confidence really dipped, and my enjoyment for running completely diminished. I didn't want to go outside and run. My confidence with people kind of dropped. I became a bit insular or isolated myself, and I kind of just found the gym, found nutrition, and that's where it all kind of began. I was like, I can take control of my body. I can go to the gym myself, and I'm in control of what I put in my mouth. And I started researching, how can I kind of build some muscle? How can I get stronger? All of these sort of things. And I came across some pretty bad information at the start, but I got results, as any kind of newbie does. And eventually, after kind of years of trial and error, and eventually finding kind of evidence-based information. So I know you said you had Martin McDonald on before. He'd very much have been someone I would have looked towards, but at the time it was Alan Aragon and Lyle McDonald, and 3D Muscle Journey, Eric Helms, and those sort of people. And finding their information, I managed to actually transform my physique to like a really good level. And so much so, in 2014, I competed in my first natural bodybuilding show, which was kind of, for me, was a opportunity to show that I'd recovered fully from my bad health, because some of my bad health caused my testosterone levels to really dip, which was also kind of, if anyone's ever suffered from low testosterone, it's not nice. No. Lots of depression, kind of just your will to live is a bit rubbish, and your actual ability to grow muscle, burn fat is all pretty poor as well. So that was amazing, and that was kind of the story of me reviving stronger after the accident, in that when I came to stage in 2014, and even before then, I was in better shape than I'd ever been in my life. I was in the best shape of my life, and that was after suffering an accident that could have led potentially to death. It seems crazy me to say that, but that could have happened if I wasn't careful with the things I was doing. So yeah, in a roundabout way, that's where Revive Stronger came from, and I started kind of sharing my progress online. I had my YouTube channels years old. There's some of the old videos on there. You can see some old posing videos. I look so bad. They're really cringeworthy, but I love to share my story. So then, yeah, I mean, how I got into personal training after that was, it had always been a side interest. Like I said, when I was younger, it was always kind of a side interest. It was always there. I went and did office jobs. I was working in merchandising in London, and I did a personal training course on the side. So whilst working full time, I did this on the weekends and kind of after work, whilst still going to the gym and things. And an opportunity arose where I could become a one-on-one personal trainer in my home gym. So I would have to take a pay cut and things, but I was living at home, so it wasn't so much of a risk, and it was my passion. So I just decided to drop the merchandising career and go straight into it. And in that gym, the reason I actually ended up transitioning to online coaching was I had my YouTube channel already, and a lot of the members in that gym knew me, and it was a lot of local kind of teenagers from the area. They didn't want a one-on-one personal trainer kind of shouting out them how many reps they had. I wouldn't have done that anyway, but they didn't need someone to kind of motivate them in the gym, but they did need someone to take control of their programming and their nutrition, and they didn't understand how to get past kind of the novice stage into intermediate and become more advanced. And that is something I did, and I'd done it. And so my online side started building, and that's where Revive Stronger came from, because then I needed a name, I needed a brand, and that's what I went with. So that was quite a long story, but hopefully it kind of gives a really good overview of where actually I came from.
Perfect, man. That definitely gives me a good background and basis to work off. Now, when it comes to Revive Stronger, how long has that been going for?
I've been doing it. The actual name has probably been around like 3 years, but online personal training around just over 2.
Mm-hmm. So, what attracted you to online training?
So, yeah, like I was saying, I think I had always in my mind thought of it as something cool because I knew 3D Muscle Journey.
Yeah. And
for people who don't know, those guys, they're natural bodybuilders who coach natural bodybuilders over the internet, and they had their YouTube channel, and it was very kind of cool. And I was like, I'd love to somehow do that. And then when I was a one-on-one personal trainer, because people in the gym, kind of these were people at my local schools, and they just wanted kind of cheaper rates to try and get some kind of good results, and they didn't want me to train them in the gym. And I just started doing online coaching for them for a very, very cheap rate. And it kind of found me because I started getting results with them. I share it online. People from overseas would see it, and I'd have I got clients from like America and things, and just started off from a very small base and started building that up and up. And the reason I then decided to drop one-on-one and go full into online was mostly because I met someone while I was working in London who lived in London and worked at the company I used to work for. And it was an opportunity to say, I can be free if I go online to come and live in London with you, and I can work from home. And that's what I did. So it was a risk because I wasn't earning all that much, but I put in the work and managed to build it up to what it is now.
So, babe, it's your full-time job now. You don't do anything else, correct?
Yeah, full-time, all online coaching.
And that's amazing. I mean, it gives you that freedom that most PTs never really get, and is what most PTs want when they initially get their certificates, is that they want that freedom, that flexibility. So it's great that you've got that. And I've seen your pictures. You're ripped to shit, right? So you're super ripped, which means you're a product of what you're selling. And what is it that makes you different? What is it that makes you different from all the other hundreds of thousands of online trainers?
I think. Thank you, first of all. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate the kind words, and I do take complete pride in my physique. It's very much. Like, I call it a hobby, but it's almost a bit of an obsession in a way. I think most bodybuilders are a bit like that. They do get obsessed with their sport. What I think makes Revive Stronger different is the ability to make online personal training personal, keeping that personal element, because there's so many online trainers out there that they don't have that personal element. Whether they use cookie cutter programs, they use basic meal plans, they just send out to anyone, and they market themselves on their physique. And I'm not saying I don't at all, but they're very much genetic elite. They probably haven't tried too hard or the results have just flown their way, and then they sell based off that. And they don't actually take into account the person on the other side, and they don't have a consultation with them and sit down and ask what are their kind of whys, why they want to do what they do, what kind of makes them tick, what do they struggle with. And this is something we do. I always talk about how it's so lucky we have kind of video. I can kind of have a Skype consultation and talk to the person before they sign up. Then every week I can check in and have video diaries and talk almost like I'm talking to them face to face. And the reason personal training is so successful is that personal element, because people have to be understood. There's much more to personal training than kind of macros and load and volume. Those kind of X's and O's are important, but they come after kind of understanding people. And that's definitely something I do. I'm very much, I don't judge, and I feel like I'm quite a good person, like people person, and can understand people. And I think that's what makes a coach, is kind of having that personability and kind of being grounded and not kind of just saying, oh, you didn't lose weight this week, let's cut more calories from your intake, because that's obviously the right answer, because 9 times out of 10 it might not be.
Yeah, and I think you must have a really good EQ, emotional intelligence, to be able to pick up on what's going on with other people's lives. So that's always good to hear, because I mean, I see all these other, like you said, cookie cutter trainers, or people that are just the faces of a generic freaking program or whatever it is. And unfortunately, in the industry and the lack of education to the normal person, people can't really distinguish between what works, like your evidence-based stuff, and what is just pure shit, like it's bullshit. How do you get yourself out there so that people come to you knowing that they're going to get results? Like what sort of marketing do you do?
So I very much market on value. So I have a blog, and I have been blogging for years now, in which basically I put out my best work. I put out information on there so that people can coach themselves, because at the end of the day, I hope most personal trainers get into the industry because they want to help people get better. They want to help people lose weight, get healthier, feel more confident. And that's definitely something I do want to do. So if I can help people do that for free, that's amazing. And if my information can help motivate them or help give them the information they need to do that, then I do that. So all of my posts, if I ever put out any information, it's not just kind of, this is me, this is how I got results. It's, if I do that, it's, this is me, this is how I got results, this is how I think you could benefit from that, this is something that might work for you, or sharing my clients' results, how they've got where they are today. And it's very much based off giving people as much information as they can. And sometimes it's information overload and they need to have me to condense it, to take control. Like anyone, like you get a plumber to do your plumbing, you don't have the time to know exactly how to make it the best job possible. I do. And they know that because they can trust that I know it, because I've got all the information there, and that I've got clients who have had that success. So yeah, that's how I market myself. It is difficult, and it's a grind, as anyone online will tell you, but you just have to keep putting in the work. And when you get results, your clients speak for themselves, and get them to do testimonials, and your product will just grow from there. And a lot of my clients I have online, in fact, have been, I mean, I've got some people who have been with me for 2 years, which is crazy to think. But that's kind of how well it works over the internet, and how such a good relationship we have.
I think people underestimate how long it actually takes to build up trust in the marketplace. When did you notice that you had trust in the marketplace and people were responding to what you were putting out?
It is really hard. You're completely right, because I think people starting out if they want to start out as an online trainer, I think you need, because face-to-face is really easy to develop trust. Like you can go and you can see someone, you can see their responses, you can kind of get what they're about. And that's why the consultations are really important. Mm-hmm. But to actually get them to that stage can even be a struggle. So for me, what really helped was having that kind of hybrid element of coaching. So yeah. I had some of my one-on-one clients in the gym, and then I had other clients in that gym who were just online. But they only got to being online because they saw me, they knew me in the gym. So I think, because some people might not have that ability to have kind of like the hybrid base and then grow from there and share their results. Mm-hmm. I think you have to really allow yourself to just share. I'm very open and honest about everything that I do and everything I'm trying. And so people can try and relate to that person, because what they say, you have to know, like, and trust someone. So if you can share your results, what you're doing, and you haven't got any results with other people first initially, I think that's still a good starting point, because that certainly helped me initially. Even just having like the YouTube channel and kind of my training programming and stuff on there, and just sharing that with people, they could see kind of the knowledge, and then people who are like-minded might come and approach you or ask questions, and then just be helpful. Give and give.
Yeah, obviously keep giving. And when I was speaking to Martin McDonald earlier, he said the same thing, where it's owning your postcode first. So it's like having that validation within your local area, and like you said, that hybrid element would have helped a hell of a lot. Now. Yeah. When I was, because I'm not actively doing PT, but I'm actively opening up a gym at the moment.
Nice.
But, when it comes to the PTs that are out in the UK at the moment, what do you find PTs could do better at that they're not doing?
I don't have a lot of experience with PTs apart from kind of gyms I've trained in, so I might have a bit of a blinkered view, because apart from the gyms I've trained in, and then all of the people I meet at conferences. So the people I meet at conferences that I go to, where there's evidence-based practitioners like Alan Aragon, who I talked about before, or any of these people who come over, they're fantastic. The people in those, so the people like myself, like they all clearly care for their clients. They clearly care about their ongoing education. But those are two elements I find lack a lot in the personal trainers I come across, which are probably more prevalent in the gyms I train in. There's not a clear caring for the client. There's certainly not a clear caring for ongoing education. And they tend to just provide whatever maybe something they've read in the latest Men's Health. They give them the latest workout within there. I've seen that happen. Yep. Or they give them the workout that they've been doing, and typically that's like maybe it's a bodybuilding workout, which isn't appropriate for someone who's obese and struggles with their own body weight, let alone doing kind of any big exercises. So I think it comes to the core of what personal training is about, is really caring for the client is number one. Second to that becomes kind of education, so that they can help better and they can care even more by knowing what they're doing is going to actively help that person, and really put themselves in their client's shoes, because you're 9 times out of 10 you're totally different to that person, especially when you're working in kind of gyms. A lot of the time it's kind of females, like mothers who have some spare time in the middle of the day, who have a personal trainer, and that's not what the most personal trainers are. So you need to relate to that person. Whereas online, obviously, I'm blessed that I can kind of almost pick and choose and have a quite unique niche. So people are very much similar to me, which makes my life easier, but it's not the same within a one-on-one personal training environment.
And I 100% agree there, man. And it is, I think that's where the attraction comes with like online training, is you can, again, pick, choose, and refuse, and you can target your specific clientele that you're looking for. Now, we'll backpedal a little bit, because I want to find out about when you compete and when you started competing. What did you learn about that experience that you have been able to pass on to your clients?
I think it is something that you need to have done, I feel like, to take someone to stage, to take someone to kind of bodybuilding lean levels where the body doesn't want to be. I think you need to have experienced that yourself, or at least have an extreme understanding, or have people close around you who have been in that scenario, because it's almost like nothing else. The only thing I could ever say I could relate it to was when I was ill in hospital, and kind of the kind of the foggy brain fog that I had then, the zero energy. That's what I could relate it to. But it's all good and well saying it, but to actually be in that position is totally different. So I very much have an understanding for how absolutely kind of crazy you have to be to do it. And to get to those crazy lean levels, some people don't have the ability to get there. They don't have the drive, the want to do that. And I understand that, because I understand how hard it was for me. So when I have clients, there is a stage at which there can be times where it's like, do you actually want to push harder to get to those lean levels of conditioning? You'd go on stage now and do absolutely fine. You could get leaner, but is it worth the cost to you? Because it does take away from your energy for your social life, for your loved ones, and for your job. And if you don't have the ability to be selfish in that way, then possibly you can't do that extra push. And I understand that. Whereas some people, if they hadn't, they'd just be like, no, keep going. You can push harder. Or another good example is like, you might laugh thinking, oh, like reducing someone's carbs by like 10, 20 grams. That's nothing. But when you're in that position where you're on very low calories as it is, you're doing lots of cardio as it is, and someone tells you you're reducing your carbs by 10 to 20 grams, that's a nightmare. Like you may well like cry, because you're in an emotional wreck at that stage. And I can understand that. So it's having the ability to really kind of, like I said before, put yourself in their shoes. I've been there, done that, and I understand the kind of journey. But I also learn a lot from that process in terms of like things I'd change in future. So I dieted for a long time without diet breaks. Diet breaks are becoming much more of a hot topic now, and they weren't really around then. Whereas now I realize how bad it was to have dieted for so long, or I made it unnecessarily difficult. And now I can periodize in these diet breaks, which are fantastic, and they allow people to actually lose fat in a healthier way, and they feel better about it. All the minor details as well. Like I remember my first show, I didn't shave under my armpits, and I got marked down for that. And it was like, I'm never letting a client not shave under their armpits. I'm checking that stuff, and how important tanning and posing is. All these minor details that some people might gloss over, I certainly wouldn't, because you put so much time and effort, not only into that prep where you're losing fat, but the years beforehand where you're building your physique to go onto stage for 20 minutes or half an hour. And if you don't smash your poses, you don't show your best package, you don't have the best tan, and you're not completely kind of shaved in the appropriate places, then you're going to be like kicking yourself, because it's not easy, and you potentially have wasted a lot of time. So yeah, there's so many lessons to learn from actually doing it yourself, and being in that position.
And do you enjoy doing it? Do you enjoy the process? Or does it get to a point where you're just like, yeah, fuck this, I'm going to eat a pizza?
I have to be honest. My first show, if every time was like that, and I don't know, because I haven't got quite to that stage, I probably wouldn't want to do it again, because it was very, very hard. And I didn't know what to expect. And as a first-time competitor, I just wish I'd known more. I wish I'd had maybe some friends who had competed. I didn't have anyone. So I very much didn't know what to expect. Whereas this time round, I can certainly say it's been much more fun. It hasn't been that bad. I knew what to expect. My girlfriend knew what to expect. But it is the thing I find most difficult, and it makes me sad to even say it, is the impact, because it is such a isolating and selfish sport. Like you need control over, like you don't necessarily need it, but to actually succeed, you'll probably want it. You kind of have the selfishness of when you train, when you eat, what you eat day to day, because if you move too far away from that, you get too flexible. Although on paper, it can be done, in practice, it kills you. And that therefore means your social life is a bit poor. You especially when you get leaner and towards the stage, relationships with like your girlfriend and things, if she's not fully understanding of kind of the lack of energy you have to actually be potentially affectionate and loving towards her, which you just don't have the energy for it. And you almost have to be selfish, like with your meals, like you want to eat together, but potentially you have to start kind of cutting back and saying, I'm actually going to make my own food because I need more precise control over it. I need to make sure I'm full. I need to make sure I'm kind of doing this, because otherwise I'm going to be extremely hangry, for lack of a better term. And there's elements of it. I love bodybuilding and kind of the community and what it's done for me in terms of kind of skill development and understanding of things. And when you're a bodybuilder, you know how to lose fat and maintain muscle in the best way possible, which helps anyone trying for fat loss. So all of those skills I've developed, I love, and I love the kind of the posing and everything. It's just the final stages where it does get very isolating, where you have to be selfish. If you don't have a good support network, I think it could be incredibly hard, and it might make you crumble. That's probably the hardest part for me. So I do really enjoy it. There are, like anything, elements that I wish didn't have to be there, but with an extreme sport, there's always going to be that.
And I think if you understand that side of it, you understand the mental side of it more than the physical side, it makes the journey a lot easier. Look, I've never done it. I wouldn't know how to get to the destination personally. But I've been around enough people that are experts in the field to appreciate that journey. Like, I've seen it over and over and over again, and I appreciate the sport. I'll watch it with a different, with my rose-colored lenses, where I know what you guys have gone through to get there. Now, in saying that, because you know how to get to that destination, and you know obviously the hard side that comes with it, do you pass that information on to people that are wanting to be bodybuilders or wanting to get on stage before you start training them, or do you just let them figure it out on their own?
I think it would be really irresponsible of me to let them figure out on their own, because they're in for a rude awakening. I mean, sometimes you have to have done it to really know what it's going to be like. But I think a lot of people see, especially because kind of natural bodybuilding is growing, which is fantastic. But a lot of people see these guys on stage and they're like, oh, they look amazing. They're smiling. They're in the best shape of their lives. And it's like, yeah, you don't know what shit they've been through. You don't know what kind of the physiology behind them. Like, they're not in a healthy state right now. They need to gain some fat to get healthy again. And I just make sure to explain to them and tell them exactly what they're getting themselves into, and have the understanding that, yeah, we're going to have this goal of stepping on stage at this particular time, but the stage is always going to be there. You don't have to sign up and commit till kind of very near, you know, if you're going to be able to compete or not. So I do like to tell people exactly what they're getting themselves into, and make sure, like, do you have a stable life right now? Because if you're kind of in your final year at uni or something like that, and you're trying to compete at the same time as doing your kind of the dissertation, like the hardest year of uni, or whatever it might be, kind of, you've got you're trying to progress within your career, that's going to have to go on the back burner, at least for like a couple of months, in which bodybuilding will be your life, because it is 24/7, and it really is during the kind of the stages at which your body doesn't want to be there. So yeah, I think it's very important to let them know what they're getting themselves into. But it's not like it comes out of nowhere. It is a progressive thing. Yeah,
and I think it's obviously a duty of care. If you know exactly what's going to happen, it's your duty to pass it on to them. And that's great, because it looks like from the outside looking in, I mean, I look at your business, you've obviously niched down to like your bodybuilders and your powerlifters, and when you look at your website, it very much looks like people that are going through extreme transformations. Now, is that what you always wanted to do, or did it just turn out that that's what your niche was?
I think it was a product of its own making. So because that's what I did. And then that's what initially the people who were in the gym that's what attracted them to me, was because they saw what I did, and then they wanted to get into it as well. So I started kind of naturally going into that arena. But also I think because of kind of the 3DMJ element, and they're definitely an online coaching platform I've always looked up to, and I do think they're kind of some of the best out there. It's certainly the type of audience I've wanted to go to. So yeah, I think it was it kind of found me, but it's definitely something I've been targeting myself. And it's something I find kind of easy, because I love reading the research. I love reading kind of all the information surrounding it. I love keeping myself up to date with it. So if I was to try and do something else, it would be, and there could be other more lucrative markets like busy businessmen, so who need like short workouts and like want easy fat loss, but to be able to drink on the weekend. That might be more kind of there might be more money in it. But for me personally, I find so much enjoyment out of helping this specific niche. And actually, if I was to drill my niche even further down, it all came from kind of trying to help the intermediate male trainee become more advanced. Because I find there's so many guys in the gym who have a good base of muscle, but they don't know how to take it any further. They don't know what to do with their nutrition or their training, and they're looking for all these fancy supplements, potentially even taking things like steroids, which is becoming even bigger everywhere, which is horrible because they have so much potential muscle they could be building naturally if they just did a few simple changes. And they were the real people I wanted to help, and they probably are still the core of Revive Stronger, and the core people I want to help are the people who are kind of, they're just a bit unsure and they need kind of the confidence to and the understanding and the main big principles that they can take forward and move onwards with. And sometimes it's just that people don't have they lack the perseverance and the ability to appreciate that it takes time to build appreciable amounts of muscle and change your physique.
And I think you've definitely recognized a gap in the market there with the intermediate, the people going from beginners, going from intermediate to advanced. But like you said, the people that have that good base of muscle. So if anybody's listening, there's a gap in the market there for that. So you can go creep under Steve Hall and steal his guy. But in saying that, when you decided to start an online business and become an online trainer, what was the biggest learning curve for you?
Oh, that's a hard one. Actually, I probably think my biggest learning curve, and this might sound a bit hypocritical, but hopefully not, was when I first started out, I didn't appreciate the personal element that was required. So I think it was a bit of, because I worked with people online who were local to me, they saw me in the gym, and so I didn't need to do the video consultation. I didn't need to do the video diaries. I could just email and then say hi to them every week in the gym or while I was training, and that was fine. But as I was growing and I was getting people from like over in Australia potentially, and I didn't have that video consultation, I didn't have video logs, and it was just email, there'd be words lost in translation. People would get the wrong end of the stick. I potentially take on clients who weren't suited to me, or I wasn't suited to them, and they didn't understand the process properly. And I think the biggest learning curve was the fact that you have to, for me to enjoy my job and get the best results possible, was to transition to make sure I did video. Every single person who signs up with Revive Stronger has a video consultation. They know who they're signing up with. They have a face that they can put towards any communication that goes forward. Hopefully we have video diaries every week or every month, and that keeps the online personal training personal, because that's where I find I get the best from my clients, because sometimes they don't want to share it in an email, and it's very hard or very easy to not share your emotions and to just kind of even fake emotions via text. And it was much easier for me to even explain, kind of to educate and also have empathy with them if I was to use video. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest learning curve for me, was to make sure I kept the online training as personal as possible.
Perfect. So if someone wanted to start an online business and online training, what would be like a golden nugget you would recommend to them? Like if someone was gonna start it tomorrow, what would you say go out and do?
I guess I'm gonna do it based off the way I did it. Yep. So I would say, don't expect to be able to charge crazy prices. Start off nice and cheap, but even free, and get great results with someone. But have part of that kind of deal with them. Potentially you'll do it for free, but you have to have the ability to share their results. Or maybe you say you'll do it for free if they follow things through, and if they don't follow things, they have to pay, or something along those lines. Whatever it might be, don't have high expectations at first, but allow that to build, and share your successes with people, and work with people that you know you can help and you're passionate about helping. And anything that you do that you find helps you day to day, anything you've done with other people that's helped them, share it. and so it will help someone out there, and that someone might be someone who wants online personal training, and then you can be there to help them. But make sure you're really looking towards to help the people you feel like you can help best, because that will always be the core of the best results you'll get, and the better the results you get, the more potential you have to grow and develop your business. So yeah, I think that would be my kind of golden nugget if there was one.
That's a great nugget. So in 5 years, what does Revive Stronger look like?
So that's an awesome question. That's a challenging one, because I'm already having only been, I think I've only done one tax year. So it's like very much it's really weird being like your own manager, your own boss, your own like employee. I do everything. So I mean, in 5 years, I don't have a 5-year plan, but I certainly, like I said, I look up to 3D Muscle Journey. I'd love us to be in a position where we can be kind of the 3D Muscle Journey to Europe or to the UK, be known in the UK as kind of the online personal trainer provider, or at least one of the big names out there, and have kind of a strong following, just build upon what we've already got. So I think it's all going in the right direction, but I just want I want my information to reach more people. I want to be able to help more people. That would probably be where I want to be in 5 years.
Cool. And if there was any sort of personal development, self-development that you could recommend to an aspiring online trainer, what would it be?
I'd say the biggest thing that's helped me, or at least helped and I've enjoyed, and it's made me want to kind of get into the industry further, was going to conferences and seminars. I did go to at least like 5 before I even got into the industry. So I wasn't even a personal trainer, and everyone at these kind of seminars and conferences were personal trainers, and I wasn't. I was just there because I wanted to learn. I wanted to immerse myself into kind of the industry, and I didn't even have prospects of being a personal trainer back then, but that really got me into it, and I loved it. So if you can, I mean, books are great, podcasts are great, kind of listening to all this information is really good, but if you can go meet these people, if you can go and associate yourself and surround yourself by people you want to be like, or like you look up to, it's just it's like going to a party and like everyone there is like your best friend. Like it's just there's nothing better than actually going to the conferences, and it seems like a pain in the ass. It seems like you're maybe not getting your money's worth because there's so much free information online. But I absolutely love going to conferences and seminars that are kind of, there's always nuggets to be taken away, and you really realize that these people are kind of, you put them on a pedestal sometimes, but they're all humans, and we're all human, and that element is really nice, and it's missed.
And I agree with you there, and especially doing this podcast, it's one thing you notice straight away is that people in this industry that we're in are very, very welcoming, especially the ones that aren't coming from scarcity, the ones that aren't trying to keep their secrets, because there's no secrets. Like the bigger names, like your Martin McDonald, who I had on before. I had Gary V's coach on before. It is literally, it's quite easy to get a hold of these people, and they are willing to give you all the information you want. And if you want to go to the next level, you can obviously get mentors, and there's people that pay for their time, and it's 100% worth it. I would say if you can afford it, it's worth it. But I think that's one of the biggest takeaways, is that people in our industry are very, very friendly, and as long as you're approaching the right ones with the results that you want, you can definitely get a lot more golden nuggets from those people as well. Now, Steve, we've almost been going for an hour now, so I think it's time to call it. But is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so. I think if people have taken anything away from what we've talked about, I'm incredibly happy. And if anyone has anything, if they've been in a similar situation to me with kind of an accident and they've kind of suffered different things, or maybe they've had low testosterone or whatever it might be, and they're kind of feeling a bit lost, they're a bit insecure, definitely reach out to me. I want to help anyone I can, and I will when I get the time. So yeah, that's all I'd say. And maybe the only other thing I do is maybe plug my podcast, because the people I interview on there are fantastic. Not so much me, like we have our Revive to Stage episodes with Pascal, our contest prep, but the interview episodes where I will be kind of getting Martin McDonald on, but I've had like Lyle McDonald's going to go live this weekend, if you know who Lyle is.
Yep.
And kind of the information there and they share is fantastic. So if you're interested, if you're a personal trainer listening to this and you want to learn more, I would definitely go and listen to those episodes, because they're golden. And I'm so appreciative of all the smart people that give me their time to interview them.
Perfect, man. And where can the listeners find you on social media and your websites?
So yeah, if they visit revivestronger.com, they'll probably be able to find everything there. But on Instagram, I'm Revive Stronger. Twitter's Revive Stronger. Facebook, if they search Revive Stronger, they'll find us. So pretty social on Instagram, Facebook, posts every day. Even on my personal Facebook, I think I'm Steve Hall, Revive Stronger on there as well. So I post every day on there. So they'll be able to find me. But yeah, the website's where the podcast is, the blog posts are. That's where they get most information.
Perfect. Look, I'll leave links in the show notes anyway, so everybody can find that. But Steve, thanks for coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. It's been a fun chat.
Now, coming from another coffee and pizza enthusiast, how do you sign off your videos? How do you sign off your YouTube videos, your podcasts? Because I've been doing this a while now. I think just under a year, and now I'd say 111 episodes in, and I've still not figured out a sign off. I don't know how to sign off these damn things. I
think I say like thank you and see you guys soon. I think I don't have a good sign off either, so don't feel bad. I just say like thanks to the guest and thanks to the audience. Talk to you next time, or something along those lines.
Perfect, and that's a great way to sign off. Because look, I don't want to be corny. I don't want to cash phrase or anything at the end of my podcast. So I'll say exactly the same thing. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.